Okay, for block one, you have Arthur Miller's All My Sons. Now, Arthur Miller, All My Sons, it is actually a drama. Okay, just like in British literature, you will find different forms of literature in American um, history as well. For example, you will find plays or drama, you will find novels, you will find short stories, you will find poetry. Okay, so Arthur Miller, you know, he was an American playwright, and he was he was really eminent during his time. Okay, and he came from 20th century. And as I told you before, that you really need to, in order to understand or in order to get the real essence of a play, you need to study a play like something that is being performed on the stage and you are the audience. Okay, so in All My Sons, in this play, All My Sons, you will find that this deals with something called realism. Okay, realism, right? So realism, it was a movement. Okay, it was a movement. Now, just like in British literature, you have different movements. You have romantic movement. You have other movements like pre-Raphaelite movements and so many movements. And every movement has some reason behind it, has some purpose. Okay. Similarly, in American literature, you will find that when the literature or when the history of America is being divided into different eras or different centuries, you will find that different writers, they are coming in with their own ideas or with their own values, their own purpose. Okay, so you will also find romanticism in American literature and so many other things. Realism, the movement realism, it comes much later. Okay, it comes much later. Now, what happens in realism? Realism is, it is something that is close to reality. Something that is close to reality. As I told you, in order to read a literature, you really need to know the background. When this play was written, okay, the play was written, All My Sons, it was written right after the World War. Okay, it was written right after the World War II. Fine. Now, during the modern age or during 20th century, there was so much chaos happening everywhere. There was so much destructions happening everywhere. Okay, people were going into wars. You must have heard about the World War One and the World War Two. Okay, people were dying everywhere. They were, the families were getting into poverty, right? The people were being taxed, heavily taxed. There was an economic depression. Okay, all these circumstances, for due to all these circumstances, the people or the general audience, the general readers, they were not in the mood to read about something that is close to fantasy or imagination, about fairies or about the kings and the queens. They didn't want to read about all those things. They wanted to read about what is going on in the society, what is happening in the society, something that they can relate to. Okay, because they were not in a mood of enjoying all those archaic or all those ancient type of stories. All right, so they wanted to have a clear picture about the reality, about what is happening, about how children are dying, about how the male members, they were being forced to get into the armies. Okay, how mothers, they were losing their young sons, or their young children, how wives they were losing their husbands in the battle. Okay, how sisters were losing their brothers. Okay, and behind all of it, the family themselves, they're getting more and more into poverty. Fine. So, that was the mood of the people of that time, especially the people coming from the middle class era. The middle class, mm, uh, from the class construct. Okay. So, in all my sons, you will you will see that there are two families. Okay, there are two families. There is one family which is a Keller family, and there is another family, Deaver family. Okay, so the major character is Joe Keller. Joe Keller, he has two sons. Okay, Larry Keller and Chris Keller. Fine. He has a wife, Kate Keller. Now Larry Keller, the son of Joe Keller, he went into the war. Okay, he went into the battle of World War, but he never came back. Okay, he never came back. He probably just died in that battle. Okay, now everyone knows what happened to Larry, but the mother of Larry, Kate Keller, she was not able to accept that his son has died. She thinks that someday my son will return back to me. Okay, she believes that my son, he will be here in front of me someday. I will be able to relish his presence. Fine. And then there comes this is something about the Joe Keller, and we just know that Larry Keller is dead. Okay, he went into the battle and he never came back. Now there is another family, the the Deaver family. Okay, the Deaver family, and there is a backstory of a relationship between the Keller family and the Deaver family. Fine. So they were into business. The members of Deaver family and Keller family, they had a business together. Okay, so that uh, what happened that Joe Keller, he was owner of a company which used to supply some technical parts um, to the flights that were being used in the World War. Okay, some technical parts. Now, what happened that um, okay, so what happened that Joe Keller, along with his business partner, okay, Joe Keller, along with his business partner Steve, okay, business partner Steve Deaver. So what they did, they sold some defective parts to the uh, soldiers, or some defective parts, and some parts with a lot of technical issues, and to be used in the battlefields. And due to this, some around 21 soldiers, they lost their lives. Okay, 21 soldiers, they
Ma'am,
lost their.
I'm not able to hear your word. Can you speak loudly?
Okay, am I not audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what I was saying, that Joe Keller and Steve Deaver, they had a business together. Okay, and they, in the meantime, they just sold some defective parts to the flights that were being used in the wars at that time. And due to those defective parts, some 21 soldiers, they lost their lives. Okay, they lost their lives. This is the backdrop of the play. Okay, this is something that has happened. This is a tragedy that has happened. Okay, now this tragedy, this has really, you know this gave a really bad impact on the sons of Joe Keller. Okay, Chris and Larry, they knew what happened. They knew what their father did, and they were not in support of it. Okay, they were not in support of it. And when the police came for the investigation, they didn't, they imprisoned Steve Deaver instead of Joe Keller. Both of them were supposed to be imprisoned, but they just imprisoned Steve Deaver and they left Joe Keller. Okay, so Joe Keller till now he's like, all right. So the soldiers they have died. Thank God that he was guilty. He was guilty from within, but he didn't know the exact reason why his own son Larry Keller he died. Then it is later revealed that in fact Larry Keller he knew that his father did something like that. Chris Keller he also knew that his father was a culprit. In fact, he was the real culprit because he was the owner of that company. Okay, and this is something that succumbed the life of Larry Keller. He was in deep depression. All these sons they didn't want to face their criminal father. Okay, so this is the story of all my sons. You really have to, and yes, before anything you need to understand the importance of the title all my sons. Okay, all my sons. Now, Joe Deaver, he has two sons, Larry and Chris. Okay, but then due to his carelessness, due to his irresponsible behavior, he lost his own son. Okay, he lost his own son and other 21 soldiers who were like son to him. Okay, other 21 soldiers were also like sons to him. Okay, so you really need to understand what is the significance of the title. Okay, whenever whenever you write an answer, the question might come: what is the significance behind the title "All My Sons" or what is the significance behind the title XYZ? Okay, when you read a novel or when you read a play or a poetry, anything for that matter, just pay your attention to the title because a title it can speak thousand words. Okay, did you understand or is there any doubt? Yes.
No doubt, ma'am.
One more thing that when you're reading all my sons, just pay attention to the characters. Okay, the behavior of that characters. There there are some characters you will find with a good nature, good natured characters, and there are some evil natured characters. Okay, and Arthur Miller, he is depicting realism in this play. Okay, a question might come that discuss how Arthur Miller depicts realism in his play All My Sons. Okay, so you need to know what are the salient features of realism. Okay, the salient features of realism. Realism was something, the word denotes something that is closer to reality. Okay, they were feed the middle class readers. Okay, the middle class people or the people who were actually suffering the who were actually suffering from what was happening in the modern times like the world wars and other things. Okay, during all these times it is the middle class people and the lower class people who suffer the most. Okay, and this impacts the family life, this impacts their personal relationships with the family, with the friends, with the lovers, and you know with everyone. And this is something that has been portrayed in All My Sons as well. Okay, so make sure you understand the characters and the kind of relationship that they share between them. Okay, like the relationship between uh, Chris and Larry, the relationship that the sons they shared with the father. the bonding, the dynamics, the complexities, okay, and how it affected the characters. This World War, it affected the characters in, you know, n- negatively, okay. So you really need to understand the psychology or what is the mental frame of those characters. Like for example, you have Kate Keller, okay. Kate Keller, being a mother, she is not able to accept the fact that her son is dead already, right? She is not able to accept the fact. So you really need to understand the mind construct or the mental construct of all those characters. Fine. So what you have the title, the significance of the title. You have the theme of realism here. You have characterization, the dynamics, the relationship that the characters they have. Okay, and there are some other themes as well. For example, um, domestic theme, the theme of domesticity, because everything is happening inside the house and among the household members. Okay, and then you have the loyalty that you have for your country. you know uh, Joe Keller, he sold some defective parts to the soldiers or to the army people. So, directly or indirectly, he was a traitor to his own country, right? So these are some of the themes that you know you really need to understand. Okay, these are the themes that you need to go through. All right. So, and of course, nevertheless, don't forget to go through the history of America, okay? Because every literature from every century, from every era, you will find some or the other connection with the reality or with something that was happening in history, be it with politics, be it with some social issues, some economical issues, some political issues, okay, be it with feminism or um, with how middle class people were suffering, okay. So make sure you align everything with that of the history. You understand the history, you understand the characters and the scenario that Arthur Miller has built for his audience to make it more relatable. Okay? Did you understand all my sons and what are the things that you need to focus on? Sorry, I could not hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Then what else you have? You have Scarlet Letter. Okay, you have Scarlet Letter, if I'm not wrong. Uh, Scarlet Letter, it is a novel by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Okay, now again, history comes into play. The time when Nathaniel Hawthorne he wrote this novel, Scarlet Letter, and the characters and the setting was that of a Puritan society. Okay, what was a Puritan society? Since the history has been divided into different parts, there was an era, there was a century, or there was a series of centuries where there were some people who were, hardcore religious. Okay, they were hardcore religious. You know, especially, they had this patriarchal system. They had this sense of patriarchy. I hope you understand what a patriarchy means. Do you understand what a patriarchy means? Yes?
Male dominated
Means
society.
male dominated society.
Yes, male dominating society. Now, what happens in a male dominating society? A female is always the one to suffer. Okay? A female is always the one to suffer. Now, this novel, Scarlet Letter, it is set in America, in Boston. Okay? It is set in Boston. And at that time, the people of America, especially, it was being run by some religious people like priests or reverend or father, bishop, whatever you might call them. Okay, and they made sure that they dominated over the society in the name of religion. They used to make such rigid, such strict rules for the people. Okay, and if people fail to adhere to all those rules, they punish them, like they punish them in such a way that you will never imagine. Okay, they will be stoned to death, they will be burned alive, they will be beheaded in, you know so much of brutality if they, if someone even dare to break any kind of rule, especially when it comes to adultery. Okay, now this novel, The Scarlet Letter, it deals with adultery. Okay, it deals with adultery. There is a character, Hester Prime. She is the protagonist. She is the female character. Okay. Now she is married, but her husband, Roger Chillingworth, he is away somewhere. Okay, he is away somewhere else, and he doesn't come for years and years to meet Hester Prime. Hester Prime is all alone in Boston. She's all alone in this new country. Okay, what happens in the due course of time when Roger Chillingworth is absent? When Roger Chillingworth is not there, Hester Prime, she builds a relationship. She builds a secret relationship with a reverend, with another man named Arthur Demister. Okay, she builds a secret relationship with Arthur Demister. Right. So, what is happening when you start reading the novel? The novel starts with the punishment itself. You will come to know right from the start, okay, right from the beginning, you will see that Hester Prime, she is being shamed in the public. Okay, she is being shamed in the public. The entire public is there, and she is on a platform being shamed. Okay, she's standing there, and people are there to punish her. And what was her crime? What was her crime? She fell in love with another man other than his husband. Okay? She fell in love, with another man other than his husband, besides his husband. Okay? And this was something that was called a severe case of adultery, or a classic explanation of adultery during those time, according to those people. Okay, so what happened? Now Hester Prime, she got the punishment, but you know, but the person with whom she developed the relationship, he never got revealed. He gets revealed in the end of the novel, but not during the entire course of the novel. Okay, it's just the woman alone getting all kinds of punishment when there were two people involved in that relationship. Okay, so if it's an adultery, then two people should be punished. But you will see that it's just Hester Prime who was being accused by everyone, and Hester Prime being a traditional heroine, being a traditional what should I say, being a traditional woman, she denies to reveal the name of her lover. Okay, so what happens? What they do? They make her, they force her to wear a letter A. Okay, they force her to wear a letter A on her dress. Okay, and that letter A, it has been woven in the color of red. Therefore, you will see that the name of the novel is Scarlet Letter. Scarlet means red. Okay, the red letter. And what was the red letter? That was A. A for adultery. Okay, A for adultery. So she was forced to wear that, that sign of adultery on her chest all her life. Okay, so what happens next? Roger Chillingworth, the um, husband of Hester Prynne, he comes and he sees that you know he sees that my wife is on that platform, and my wife is on that platform and she is being shamed, but he doesn't reveal himself to be the husband to the public. you know he just he he hides his identity. He doesn't want the people to know that he is the real husband of Hester Prynne. When he saw that Hester Prynne, people are, shaming Hester Prynne, he decides not to reveal that he is the husband of Hester Prynne. Now, Roger Chillingworth, he is a very knowledgeable man. Okay, he is a very knowledgeable man. What he does, he is very much angry with whatever that was happening, and to, you know, uh, he decides to find out who is the partner in crime. So he wants to find out who is the lover of Hester Prynne. Okay. Somewhere he doubts that, that must be the Reverend Arthur Demiston. So he goes to Arthur Demiston. Now, Arthur Demiston is also very guilty. He is not able to express his guilt. He is not able to confess what he has done. But then that guilt is eating him up from inside. Okay, he is very much guilt ridden. Okay, now what is happening that he is falling sick. Who? Arthur Demiston. Arthur Demister is falling sick because his psychological mind or his mental state of mind is not fine at that point. Okay, so something if you have something going on inside you, inside your brain, something negative. If something negative is happening inside your brain, inside your mind, then that will reflect on your body. Your body will fall sick. You might have heard about it. Okay, so this is something exactly what happens to Arthur Demiston. He is not able to reveal what sort of a crime he did. Okay, so he is in that guilt trip that Hester Prynne, she got all the punishment, but I am also a culprit. And people, they don't even know what I did. And I left Hester Prynne, alone in that chaos. Okay. So now he started to fall sick, and Roger Chillingworth, he comes to him as a physician. Okay, he comes to him as an imposter. Okay, he comes to him as a physician, as a doctor. Okay, so all this time he will try, Roger Chillingworth will try to stay closer to Arthur Demiston because he was doubting that Arthur Demiston might be the lover of Hester Prynne. Okay, and what happens? He starts poking Arthur, and he tries to press that guilt more and more. And as a result, Arthur de Mistel, he confesses that, yes, this is something I did. Now, since Arthur de Mistel, he was very sick, after confessing his crime, he dies immediately. Okay? He dies immediately. Now, Hester Prynne is sad, everyone is, no one is happy about it. And then in the later part, you will see that Hester Prynne, birth she gives birth to a girl, to a baby girl. Her name is Pearl. Okay, her name is Pearl, and uh, this is how the story unfolds. Okay, this is how the story unfolds. The main thing is the religious background. Okay, the religious background of the of the society, of the Puritan society in America, in Boston. Okay, how how the society was religious, how the society was patriarchal, how it was the women who suffered and not the men. The men, all the men were standing there judging Hester Prynne. You will see that Hester Prynne is a character who doesn't get any kind of support from anyone. He doesn't get support from Arthur Dimmesdale. He stays quiet all the time. In fact, Roger Chillingworth. In fact, Roger Chillingworth, he hides his identity that he's not her husband. Okay, there are many other things also happening in the plot of this novel. Obviously, I cannot discuss all of it. So it is on you to go through the book. Buy your book, get a book as soon as possible if you don't have it. Okay, just go through the characters, character of Arthur Dimmesdale, character of Roger Chillingworth, the character of Hester Prynne. Okay, and yes, the significance of the title Scarlet Letter. Okay, what that letter meant, why it is called Scarlet Letter. What was the letter? It was letter A, which stood for adultery. All right. Then, what was the condition of Hester Prynne? How she was left alone? How people they just ostracized her? You know, Hester Prynne was marginalized for something. For a crime which was called love. Okay, she just fell in love, and that was a crime according to the Puritan society. Right. And then there is another thing in this novel which is witchcraft. Okay. This is something that is really important. Witchcraft. Okay. There is an instance where you will come across some women who are witches. Now, during those times, it was a popular notion that if a woman is behaving abnormally, if a woman is not behaving according to the rules of the society, then she has to be strange or she might be a witch. Okay, so there was an account where, some women they confessed, I'm talking about the history, the real history. There was an account where some women they confessed that yes, they performed witchcraft, but then there were some innocent women who were accused of wizardry, who were accused of witchcraft, but they were not witches in the real sense. They were just accused and they were burnt alive, they were beheaded, they were being stoned to death. Okay, so the idea of wizardry and witchcraft was really, it was rampant during the Puritan society. Okay, similarly uh, in in Britain or in England, when King James the First, when he was ruling, he was totally obsessed with wizard and with wizardry, with witches. Okay, so that was a time people believed in all these natural, supernatural things. Okay, and so this is all you have. Okay, you need to go through all the characters. You need to go through the relationship that they shared. Okay, there are different themes like the evilness, and Arthur Dimmesdale, being a reverend himself, he he also performed that adultery. Okay, he being a reverend himself, he he was a part of that adultery. Okay, so you will find some complications, you will find some comparisons, some contrast, and then what the journey of the life of the journey Hester Prynne uh, she has in the entire novel. Okay, right. So these are the things that you need to know in Scarlet Letter. Okay. Uh, so what else you do you have? you have some poetry, right? Did you understand Scarlet Letter? Whatever I told you? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Um, just a second. What else do you have? Can you tell me? You have some poetry. I think you have some poetry by Walt Whitman. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Okay. So, again, you need to understand the background when you study about the poetry. And when you're reading a poetry, the first thing you need to know is of the poets. Okay, you need to know the background detail of the poet. Okay, what kind of poetry they were writing, what kind of language they were using, what kind of style they were using, what kind of devices or what kind of literary techniques they were incorporating to their poetry, and who they were addressing to. Okay, who they were addressing to. You will find, like, Walt Whitman is a really famous American poet. Okay, Walt Whitman is really famous. When you speak of American poetry, the first thing that comes to mind is Walt Whitman. Okay, Walt Whitman, he is really important. Okay, he often talks about the people of America, and how they are different, how they're unique, and how they should listen to themselves and everything. And then in his other poems, he also talks about Abraham Lincoln. Okay, he talks about Abraham Lincoln and death of Abraham Lincoln. In fact, "Oh Captain, My Captain," it talks about the death of Abraham Lincoln. It is an elegy. What is an elegy? Elegy, it is a song where where you dedicate that song to someone who is dead, where you mourn, you know, death of someone who is dearest to you. That is called elegy. Okay, so these are some poetry that you have, like, just a second. Um, you have Walt Whitman. What else do you have? Okay, so you have Ralph Waldo Emerson. Okay, Ralph Waldo Emerson. When you read about Ralph Waldo Emerson, you will see that he has written many essays. Okay, he has written essays, and he was called transcendentalist. You need to read about something about the transcendentalist. Okay, transcendentalist means something that transcends beyond, something that goes beyond. You know, mm, something that is there in reality, and then something else that goes beyond that reality, transcends. Okay, so Ralph Waldo Emerson, David Henry Thoreau. Okay, all these people, they were transcendentalists. You need to know, you need to study about transcendentalists. Okay, then you have his essays like Brahma and all those things. You need to, we cannot discuss everything in the class. Just go through the essay. Okay, just go through the essay. And let me just tell you one more thing. When you're writing answers, be it for assignments or be it for your semester exam, make sure to focus on you know, uh, your introduction and conclusion. Okay, your introduction and your conclusion, it needs to be perfect. Okay, all right. So because when an examiner, when he or she, when they when they will start reading your answer, the first thing they will read is your introduction. Okay, so make sure your introduction and your conclusion is up to the mark. Okay, of course you will pay attention to the body part of your answer, to the other content of your answer, but introduction and conclusion is really important. Give your extra attention to these two things. Understood?
Yes,
Am I
ma'am.
making myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there any doubt? I hope you guys are jotting down the points. Okay, so these are some of the things. Then you also have your short fiction, you also have your short stories. Again, you have your O. Henry's after 20 years. O. Henry after 20 years, you will see that, there are these there are these two friends who decide to meet after 20 years in the same spot, on the same day, at the same time. And they see how their lives have changed. One has become a policeman and other one has become a criminal. Okay, so the short fiction, they are really interesting. you know Short fiction, they're really interesting. It's good that they have it's good that you have it in your syllabus. Okay, after 20 years, it's a really beautiful story. Then you have Ernest Hemingway. Okay, Ernest Hemingway, he is also really, he's also a famous modern American writer. Okay, Ernest Hemingway. You have his short story as well. So, you know, just uh, get the short stories from anywhere, be it from internet, or if you can get it from any other book, or you can just get a printout. Okay, read the short stories thoroughly. Okay, uh, what these writers do, you know, even in the shortest stories, they will give you a powerful message. They will give you a powerful message. It might be anything. It might be, about some truth of life, about some family issues, about some mental problems that one must have gone through. Okay, or something about friends or career. Okay, so make sure you read the short fictions very carefully. Okay, again, always focus on the title. Okay, make sure you pay attention to the title and you understand that why the writers have given such a title. What is the, how is the title aligned with the main story, or with the main plot, or with the poetry? All right. So these are some of the things. Again, we don't have much time to discuss everything in detail. Okay. So I hope you got your books for all these for your semesters. If you have, then well and fine. Just go through the books. And if you do not have, then get your books as soon as possible. Okay. So that is all for this BEGC 105. We will meet in the next class, which is at 5 p.m., right? 5 to 6.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I hope I made myself clear in this portion. Okay. I hope I made myself clear in American literature. Don't forget to read different themes. Okay. Be it the poetry or the prose or fiction, short stories or drama or a novel. Okay. So that's all for this particular session. We will meet in the next session. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right.
ରୁହ ଏଥିରେ ଆମେ 5 ଜଣ ଅଛେ। ଗ୍ରୁପ କ୍ରିଏଟ କଲ କି? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ।
ହ୍ୟାଲୋ। ହଁ ମୁଁ କାଲି ମାନେ କିଏ ଜଣେ ମେସେଜ କରିଥିଲା, ମୁଁ ମାନେ ବାଇ ମିଷ୍ଟେକଲି ତାଙ୍କର
ମୁଁ କରିଥିଲି।
ରିପୋର୍ଟ ବ୍ଲକ୍। ହଁ ତମର ବୋଧେ ଭୁଲରେ ମାନେ ବ୍ଲକ୍ ହେଲା, ବାକି ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ମୁଁ ଆଡ୍ କଲି, 5 ଜଣ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେଲି, ଆଉ 3 ଜଣ ଆଡ୍ ହେଇପାରିଲେନି। ତ ମତେ ଟିକେ ଆଉଥରେ ଏବେ ନମ୍ବରଟା ତମ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ମେସେଜ କରିଦିଆଯାଇଛି ମେସେଜ ବକ୍ସରେ, ମୁଁ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦିଏ ଏବେ।
ଓହୋ।
3 ଜଣ ନା 4 ଜଣ ବୋଧେ, ମୁଁ ଜାଣିପାରୁନି, 3 ଜଣ ହିଁ ଅଛନ୍ତି ବୋଧେ, କାହିଁକି 5 ଜଣ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଅଛୁ, ଆଉ 3 ଜଣ ନାହାନ୍ତି। ତ ଟିକେ ଆଉଥରେ ଯିଏ ଯିଏ ନାହାନ୍ତି ଟିକେ ମେସେଜ ବକ୍ସରେ ଟିକେ ଦେଇଦିଅ ମତେ ନମ୍ବରଟା।
ବ୍ଲକ୍ କରିଦଉଛ।
ନାଇଁ ନାଇଁ ମାନେ ଏକ୍ସିଡେଣ୍ଟଲି ମୁଁ ସେ କଣ୍ଟାକ୍ଟରେ ସେଭ୍ କଲା ବେଳକୁ ମୋର ଯୋଉ ଅପସନ୍ ଅଛି ତା ତଳୁ ହିଁ ରିପୋର୍ଟ ଆଣ୍ଡ ବ୍ଲକ୍ ଥିଲା ତ ବାଇ ମିଷ୍ଟେକଲି ହେଇଗଲା। ହେଲେ ମୁଁ ସେ ଚକରେ ମୋ ନମ୍ବର ବି ଦେଖିନି 2-3ଟା ନମ୍ବର ମୁଁ ଖାଲି ଅନବ୍ଲକ୍ କଲି। ଆଉ ତାପରେ ନମ୍ବର ଆଉ ପାଇପାରିଲିନି ମୁଁ।
ଓକେ। ପୁଷ୍ପାଞ୍ଜଳି
ଆଉ କିଏ ଆଉ କିଏ କିଏ
ପୁଷ୍ପାଞ୍ଜଳି
ନମ୍ବର
ଅଛ?
ଦେବେ?
ହଁ ହଁ
ଚାଟ୍ ବକ୍ସ ରେ ଲେଖିଦିଅ ନମ୍ବର ଟା।
ହୁଁ,
ଶୁଭ
ହୁଁ
ଦଉନୁ।
କେନ୍ ଲେଖିଆ ଲଲ?
ଆରେ ଏଇଠି 3ଟା ଡଟ୍ ଅଛି ସେଇଟା ମାରେ ତାପରେ ଇନକଲ୍ ମେସେଜେସ୍ ମାରେ।
ହେଲା।
ସେଠି ସେଣ୍ଡ କରେ।
4 ଜଣ ନମ୍ବର ଦେଲେ ନା ହଉ ମୁଁ ଏବେ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦଉଛି।
ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ଆଉ କିଏ କିଏ ଅଛନ୍ତି କି? ମ୍ୟାଡାମ କିଏ ଅଛନ୍ତି?
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ
ସହିତ କିଏ
ଲିଭେଇଲେଣି।
ନାହାନ୍ତି। ଏବେ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ୍ଲାସରେ ଆମେ କହିବା ମ୍ୟାଡାମକୁ ଆଉ ଯୋଉ ଆମର କଣ୍ଡକ୍ଟର ଯିଏ ରହିଥିବା ଆରସି ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର ଯିଏ ରହିଥିବେ ସେ ସାରଙ୍କୁ ବି କହିବେ ତ ସେ ସବୁ ସାର୍ ମ୍ୟାଡାମକୁ ଆଡ୍ କରେଇଦେବେ ସେଥିରେ।
ହୁଁ ସେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ନୁହଁ କି ଯୋଉ ମିଟିଂ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ ହବ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ପଠେଇଦବ ଏଇଥିରେ। ସେୟାର କରିଦବ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା କପି କରିଦବ ହ୍ୱାଟସଆପ ର ଏଠି ସେୟାର କରିଦବ
ମୋର
ପଚାରିକି।
ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ମୋର ଡିଭାଇସରେ ଟିକେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ଅଛି ହେଲା ମୋର କପି ପେଷ୍ଟ ହଉନି ଟୋଟାଲି।
ଓ ଆଚ୍ଛା କହିଲେ ମୁଁ
ଆର
ନହେଲେ ସେ ଆମ ଆଡ କରିଦିଅ
ନାଇଁ
ମୁଁ ନହେଲେ କରିଦେବି।
ହଁ ହଁ ଠିକ
କଣ
ଅଛି
ହୁଁ
କରୁଛି।
ପଚାରିକିରି ଏଥିରେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ସେୟାର କରିଦେଲେ ଜଏନ ହେଇଯିବେ ଆଉ।
ବାଏ ବାଏ 5ଟା ବେଳକୁ ଦେଖାହବା ସମସ୍ତେ।
ହଁ ହଁ।
5ଟା ତ ଆଉ କେତେ ମିନିଟ ରହିଲା 4 ମିନିଟ ତ ରହିଲା।
2-3 ମିନିଟ୍। ଓକେ।
ଏ ମ୍ୟାମଙ୍କର ପାଠ ସବୁ ବୁଝିପାରିଲ ନା ସମସ୍ତେ?
ହଁ ହଁ ପୁରା କ୍ଲିୟରଲି।
କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି ତ ଫାଷ୍ଟ କଣ ବୁଝିବ?
ତାଙ୍କ ଭଏସ ମୁଁ ବି କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଶୁଣି ପାରୁନଥିଲି।
ଯାହା ବି କହିଲେ ବୁଝି ହଉଥିଲା ଯେ ଯେତିକି ଶୁଭିଲା।
ଆଉ କିଛି କିଛି ତ ନ ଶୁଣିବା ଅପେକ୍ଷା କଣ ବି ଟିକେ କାନରେ ଶୁଣିଲେ ଭଲ ଲାଗେ ଯେ। ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଚାପ୍ଟର ଟା ବୁଝିଲା ବ୍ଲକ 1 ଟା ବୁଝିଲା ବ୍ଲକ 2 ଟା ମତେ କାଇଁ ଭଲସେ ଶୁଣା ଗଲାନି।
ବ୍ଲକ 2 ଟା ସ୍କାଲେଟ ଲେଟର ଉପରେ ତ କହିଲେ ଆଉ ସେ ନାଁ ଯାକ ମାନେ
ହଁ
ଭଲସେ ପ୍ରୋନାଉନ୍ସ କରିଥାନ୍ତି ଜଣା ପଡୁନଥାଏ। ନା ଯାକ ମୁଁ ଲେଖିନି ବହିଟା ପଢିଲେ ଜଣା ପଡିବ ଆଉ।
ବହି ତ ଆସିନି ପରା।
ଜଷ୍ଟ ବହି ଆସିନି ତ।
ବହି ଆସିନି 105ଟା।
ଆହୁରି ଆସିନି ବହି ତ 105 ଆଉ ଦେଖିଆ। ହଉ ଏଥର ଲେଫ୍ଟ ହବା।
ହୁଁ।
ଲ୍ୟାପଟପ